Hi, I'm Julie Campion, the clinical lead in Veterans NHS Wales in Hull University Health Board. Welcome to another video in which we're sharing veteran stories, veterans who have accessed our service in the past decade, and this is part of a celebration. Veterans NHS Wales and this health board will be 10 years old in October, and it seemed completely appropriate to hear the voices of veterans who've been helped by our service during the past 10 years. I'm really happy to introduce Donna, who's going to share her story with us today, and say thanks to you for taking time to listen in. Thank you so much for taking time to join me today, Donna. Tell us a little bit about yourself and maybe a little bit about your military service.
Well, like I said, I'm Donna, and my name is Dizzy. It's been Dizzy since I was 16. Most people know me at that name, which kind of gives you an inkling to the sort of person I was when I was serving as well. I joined when I was, I think, about 16 and a half. My mum really didn't want me to join, but it was a typical little Welsh village where there wasn't really a lot happening, and I just watched one pregnant friend after another, and it was like, oh. And then I obviously wanted to follow my dad as well. My dad was RAF, so I kind of wanted to keep that kind of history going, and being 8th generation in the military, it kind of makes me feel a little bit proud. So I managed to finish top of my class, so I had a choice of postings, and didn't know Cyprus was an option, so I chose Germany. And then he was like, why didn't you choose Cyprus? I was like, oh, well, it's Billy now. So I spent most of my army career in Germany, which was amazing. It really was. Obviously, there was a traumatic experience during training, which I managed to suppress for many, many years, where for years, right up until really I met yourself, it was my fault. I put myself in that position, you know, and now I realise it's not my fault actually, and I shouldn't have been made to feel I was put in that position, and I can actually take comfort now in the fact that no, it's fine. I still have the nightmares, and I still have, you know, moments where I wake up and panic, but instead of it wiping me out like I used to before, and then I'd go into myself for weeks on end, I can kind of, no, it's not real, and it's fine, and then give my other half a cutch and go back to sleep, and it's all right. But I suppose it's when you've got PTSD, and the PTSD is thrown around quite loosely in some areas with certain things, but when someone says they've got PTSD, it is worth taking seriously, and it's worth giving yourself credit for owning that PTSD, because it destroys an element of your personality if you let it, and it destroyed an element of mine, and it's taken me a long time to kind of get that element back. But for years it was almost like my PTSD was stopping me being who I was instead of helping me become the person I am, and I think that's the difference really. Sorry, I get emotional. Why am I getting emotional? It's just daft, do you know what I mean? But it's nice. And for years I kept saying I need to be back who I am, and you've got to give yourself credit, because you're never going to be who you were, because you don't want to be that person. That person is why you were vulnerable in the first place, and you need to like embrace who you're going to be rather than who you was. And that's what you Veterans NHS Wales did for me. They made me realise that instead of trying to go backwards, I need to go forwards, and I need to embrace who I'm becoming rather than trying to crawl back into whatever I was, which is just really nice. I think that the biggest shocker with me was, like I said, it was sitting there and thinking that nobody wanted me there, or I was a burden to people, and that's when I went upstairs and I tried to take my own life. I get upset because it shows how close my partner is to me, because I went upstairs with a full plan of exactly what I was going to do, but my partner never followed me up to the bath ever before, apart from the occasional perv, you know, as boyfriends do. But he knew something was wrong, and he come up and he, you know, obviously seen what I'd done and seen the plan in place and everything, and he saved me. And it just brought us so much closer together, as much as he was so angry at me, like so angry. But it made me realise, actually, no, there is people out there, and me going is going to upset people, and it is going to be impact, you know, and it's better for me to stay than leave, you know, and things like that. And it's talking to people then, and then you realise when you're going through mental health issues, who you cling on to that may not be good for you. You know, I was clinging on to people that I thought were good in my life, but actually they were quite toxic. But because they'd been in my life before and they were part of my life before the nightmare happened, I felt I had to cling to them, whereby now I'm like, no, it's okay to step away from it. It's okay to move away from toxic people. And they may not be toxic to others, they were just toxic to me. And it's fine to walk away from that. And I keep gibbering, so please ask me something else.
So, Donna, tell me a little bit more about what life was like for you before you had treatment with me.
Beforehand, it was just numb, I think is the best way to describe it, because I knew something was wrong. I was in a very stressful job, which it was one of those, I had to have a job, and I had to have a job that paid well, and I had to, and I threw everything into every job I had, which I kind of put pressure on myself and stress on myself. So then I went to the doctor and said, look, something's not right. Do you know what I mean? So you try and explain to the doctor that I'm just, I'd burst into tears for nothing. Do you know what I mean? I'd be sat there and I'd just cry, and it wouldn't even be anything sad on telly. I could be in silence and I'd just cry. And instantly they were like, it's depression, here's some tablets. And then I tried the tablets for a month, and they were like, oh no, obviously they're not working, we'll give you stronger tablets. And then, oh, they're not working, let's give you stronger ones. And it's like, great. And then that was it then. These tablets just made me numb and completely neutral, and I took no joy in anything at all. And I blamed the tablets, but then in reality it wasn't just the tablets, it was also, my depression, my PTSD, and then you get the anxiety that builds then, and the paranoia that feeds the anxiety. And then I just broke. And then, lucky for me, I went back to my doctor and said, look, something's not right. And I saw a locum doctor who looked at my records and was like, you're a veteran. I was like, yeah, I am. What's the big deal? And she's like, well, with your depression and everything, was it military related? Why haven't you been referred to Veterans NHS Wales? And I was like, you tell me. Why? I have no idea. So she referred me then on to you guys, and it was just great really to know that there's something else out there. And then obviously it started like the branching out of other organisations that could help me, like Change Step and the Poppy Factory, which kind of helped build me up then. And it's just, veterans don't know that support is out there, which is frustrating for me in a sense, because I was one of those veterans, and it would have been nice to have known this is all out there. So I'm kind of one of those people that goes, do you know you can do this? Do you know this is it? Do you know this is it? These can help you, and this can help you, and this can do that. And it's, and veterans need to share within the community. But again, the veteran community is a massive family and a massive unit, but they're also very isolated, and they have a habit of isolating themselves. Case in point, I was almost agoraphobic by the time I come to you. Well, I had to go at your poor receptionist because I couldn't find the place, and then she said the appointment was cancelled because I didn't get there, and I just freaked out, and I went into like full-blown meltdown in the car, and the poor woman had the full brunt of my meltdown. And I think an hour later I did phone and apologise and say, look, I'm really sorry. But then she was like, no, it's fine, I understand, which is again another key element of Veteran NHS Wales. Is not just the people that you actually see on your appointment, it's the people that are there to answer the phones when you have the appointment, that they understand that you're having a wobble and it's not at them, it's just a general wobble. Do you know what I mean? So, which was kind of refreshing. But yeah, I was a mess, an absolute mess, and a shell. I couldn't even say a shell of who I was. It was just a shell, and I was so angry at myself. Do you know what I mean? And just, I think that's what it does to you. It gets you so angry at yourself, and then you become your worst bully because you're constantly having a go at yourself. Why can't you get a grip? Why can't you just pull yourself together? Why can't you just get on with it? Why are you feeling this way? And there's like a million questions you just can't answer. You really can't. And then you sort of go into therapy with this like image of lying on a sofa and being like someone talking at you and making notes and making you feel like shit. I shouldn't swear, should I? I'm sorry. Making you feel awful, should I say. But instead, you're actually talking to a human being that's actually knows what you're going through, or at least can relate a little bit. And then suddenly, you're not just having to talk it out. You've got tools that you can have and things that you can put into boxes, because this is the other thing I think that people, myself included, because I did think that way, that if you go to counselling, they're just going to fix you, and then you're going to be better, and then you're fixed, and that's it. But they don't. They just give you the tools to be able to put things into boxes and manage and just, just be able to be yourself with your baggage. you know, and that's what it is. Yeah, everyone's got baggage. It's how you carry it. Do you know what I mean? Instead of it all being on your back like a burden, you know, like you would in the army, you're kind of now wheeling it along in a little hotel carry-on, you know.
Well, Donna, what do you remember about treatment with me? What were the parts of it that were most helpful?
I think it's because you're a similar sort of wavelength as me, so it was never constantly serious, and I think that's how it worked well for me, because I can't be serious all the obviously I can't be serious all the time. I need to, it's almost like my healing process is my laughter, and fun is what's healing to me. So it was nice that we had our serious chats and we got the demons out, but then we almost laughed about some of the stuff as well, and I was allowed to remember the good things as well as the bad things, you know, because it wasn't all bad. It was just an element that was a bit crap, you know, but it was nice that we could have that back and forth, and it was like coming and speaking to a friend. It wasn't really formal and professional and stuff like that, do you know what I mean? And I think that's what I take the most away from it, and the fact that I know that if I am slipping down a little slope, I can just drop you an email, and that's the comforting thing, and guaranteed you'll come back with something completely obvious in this email but it wasn't obvious to me at the time, and it'll just help me put everything back where it needs to be. And I think that's what it is. It's just that comforting kind of safe space feeling is probably the best way to describe it, really.
And Donna, was there any parts of treatment that you found particularly challenging, and if so, what made you be able to stay in treatment despite those challenges?
I think it was owning the fact that it was my PTSD, and it was owning the fact that it wasn't my fault. And I think coming to that, it was hard, and it was like I had almost the devil and the angel, where it's, you know, go, oh, it's not your fault, you're fine, and the devil going, it was. You know, why are you trying to make out it wasn't? You know, it was. You put yourself there. So it's almost like I was arguing with myself in that session, and I'd walk away and I'd be quite emotional, and it'd be like a rough week for me then. But it was like, no, if I'm going to do this, I need to commit to it. And that's why I think I kept going, because it was like, no, I want to get better. And I think that's what you need to have. You need the want to put everything where it needs to be, whereby if you think you're going to go and everything's going to be magically fixed, you're not in the right frame of mind in order to help yourself. And that's the big thing. I think you need to be able to help yourself. You need to have that hunger to say, no, this isn't right. I need to feel human again. I need to have, the nightmares need to stop, or at least, you know, calm down. I need to stop wanting a drink when I wake up. You know, I need to stop hurting myself, you know, inside and out. You know, because in the past, you know, the only release I had when I was angry, upset or frustrated was hurting myself, you know. And I'd love to have been one of those people that went and did it in the gym until I, you know, but I'm too lazy for that, really, in a sense. And so I'd take it out on my body in other ways, and then I'd take it out on people around me. So then, because, you know, I wasn't worthy of their love, so if I'm angry at them, they'll stop loving me, and it's just proper just angry at yourself constantly. And I think I needed to stop that, and I told myself I need to stop that, and that's why I kept going back then.
Well, now that your treatment is finished, in what way did treatment help you move forward with your life?
It's knowing what to do with the nightmares, and knowing that I can still have them, and it's okay to have them because it's going to be a part of me. And it's having that, it's almost like a comforter now, in a sense of that's what's molded me and that's what's made me who I am. And this is having that, as horrible as it was and as awful as it was, has given me an understanding for others that have gone through it. And yes, they may go through different elements of PTSD and stuff like that, but that trauma is still a trauma. And it's nice to be able to relate to other people and say, it's okay, I was there, I've been where you are, it will get better. And without that, I wouldn't be able to do the job I'm doing, you know. And I think that's comforting in itself then. That's what I've taken away, in the sense of, you know, not putting it away in a box and it's gone and I'm just going to move on my life and ignore it. It's like, no, I'm going to take it everywhere with me, and I'm going to pass it on and show other people that it's okay, you can have it, it's there, it's with you, it's not doing anything. It's like Peter Pan's shadow, you know. It'll get on your nerves occasionally, but you know it's there, you know, and you know you can just, if you need to shut out, you can shut it out, but you can bring it in when you need it. And I think that's the best thing I took away from it, really.
And you mentioned about other organisations that were helpful to you.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit more about those organisations and how that helped alongside your treatment?
Yeah, so being introduced to Diet Change Step was great. I think he came along with, I want to say Neil, but I'm sorry if it was another name. I met you once and I apologise. But it was great, and they come into my home and they introduce themselves, and we had to fill out some paperwork and do some bits and pieces and whatever else. But it was all, again, slightly informal. And then Di was the one that encouraged me and kind of almost dragged me out the house to try and, because when someone says they're agoraphobic, you assume that they, like that film where they're like crawling out the door and, you know, they're freaking out and all the rest of it. But agoraphobia can just be the fact that the thought of going out and the thought of someone hurting you keeps you in the house. But you'll go out in your garden because it's still a safe place in your garden. You know, it's not that you're frightened of the outdoors, you're just frightened of leaving your safe space. So Di, you know, but it was always baby steps with him, right? You know, and he was like, right, there's a coffee morning down the road from me. Well, yo, I'll meet you there. It's in Ammanford. You can drive. It's just there. And I'd get to my car, and then it just no. But he was like, it's fine. You got your car. You know, you got that far. And then we managed to. There's a lake up by me, and it was like I loved going up there with the dogs. So he's like, right, we'll meet at the lake. And we'll just walk around the lake and we'll just chat and stuff like that. And it was always very softy, nicey, you know, but not in a patronising way. Do you know what I mean? Because you get some organisations that can be quite patronising when you've said you've got mental health issues. And the fact that they're all veterans as well, I think helped. So they've got that kind of slightly sick, twisted sense of humour, do you know what I mean? And if I swore, it was fine. If I got upset, it was fine. Do you know what I mean? I wasn't constantly being corrected on how I'm coping with my own mental health, it was really nice. And then when Di felt I was ready then, he introduced me to Natalie at the Poppy Factory and said, right, okay, you said you wanted to get back into work. What do you want to do? And it was like, at this stage, I have no idea. I've just bounced from one job to another. And me and my partner had the conversation about me having a job I enjoyed. Because I'd never had a job really enjoyed since I'd left the army, because it was like necessity more than enjoyment. So he said, that's fine, take your time, please not too much, but please take your time and find the job that suits you and what you will enjoy. Because again, what people forget about mental health is I was spending more than I was earning because I was trying to fill a void. So even though I was earning good money, we didn't see the good money because I was buying rubbish, and I couldn't tell you now what I bought. It was just rubbish. So it's quite nice now to be in a job that, yes, I'm not millions as much as it'd be nice, but it's a nice job that pays well, that I can help people. And it was thanks to the full journey that I had. It was almost like, I think I referred to you as a tripod in one session, where the three of you are kind of keeping me up when I think I'm going to fall. You know, oh, am I going to find a job? Natalie, you push me up, and oh, my mental health is deteriorating. You push me up, and then Di was like, I'm just going to shove you the other way, and it worked really well. And it was a nice little balance to have that. But again, without yourself, I wouldn't have known the other two were there, you know. And it's again, the veteran community working together and building the blocks and getting their soldier over the 6-foot wall, even if they've got to launch them over it, you know, it's getting them there.
And when you think about your life now, tell us about what things you're doing now that you used to enjoy, or new things that you're doing in your life. What does life look like?
I think it's all new now. It's almost like being reborn. And I know that's cheesy as hell, but it was... The only thing that I have been consistent is motorbikes, and I've always been into motorbikes ever since my Uncle Jeff showed me his, and it was like, oh, I need it. Unfortunately for me, I can't physically ride myself anymore because I had a motorcycle accident, which my mum was kind of like, told you this would happen. But my partner's got a bike, and I love going out. And I joined the Armed Forces Bikers because I'm a veteran and I used to be a biker, so I'm now all patched up, you know, officially with my cut and everything. That's brightly coloured and covered in rainbows, and you can spot me a mile off. But it's nice that I'm getting into new things as well. So I potter and upcycle with like jewellery and like headpieces and random bits and pieces, and say, well, we'll glue this together and see what happens. I don't sell any of it because it's my thing and it's my hobby, which I quite like to get into, which is quite nice. And then it's all about the dogs and my family now, you know. And I love going down my mum's, and me and my mum going out on little adventures and disappearing for weekends and going here, there and everywhere. And I think that's what it is now. I've got like, I want to live again, and I want to have a life again, and I want to see things and do things and experience things. And my mind has become so much more open than it used to be. whereby, you know, it was very kind of military, tunnel vision, this is what I want and I'm not going to stop until I get it kind of thing, whereby now it's like, well, I want this, but I also want this, and oh, look at this, and I'm off kind of thing, and, you know, my dungarees and everything. I finally found my style, which has taken me, you know, 37 years. But it's nice that this is like my style and I'm comfortable in, and I think I look all right, and I look quite, you know, I look comfortable and I can just chill, but it's nice to have that kind of peace of mind is probably the best way to describe it, and it's nice to have that, which I never had before. I think my life was constant chaos, and it's nice now that I can just sit there and not have noise, because before I used to have music or the telly or some sort of noise in the background because I couldn't just relax, whereby now I can just sit there and be like, it's all right.
Donna, do you have like a vision or an idea about what your life would have looked like if you hadn't found Veterans NHS Wales?
I honestly don't think I'd be here. I think a couple of months down the line or a couple of years down the line, it would have reached a stage that my partner would have broken and left me. And that's not a criticism of him at all. I just don't think he could have coped with whatever I was turning into, and I think I would have just disappeared and just gone. And I think, whether it be a case of I jumped into a lake and drowned, or I probably would have just vanished off the face of the earth and no one would know what had happened, because my frame of mind, the way it was going, my partner found me that time because I'd put a plan in place, and I could see my trail of thought would have been, right, I need to be in a situation where no one can find me and I'm not an inconvenience in that sense anymore. And I think I would have gone down that road. So it's nice that I was kind of caught before I went down to the darkness, as they say, or never ending towards the sadness, you know.
So Donna, obviously you're a female veteran. So is there any particular message that you have for other female veterans, or you want us to know about being a female veteran?
I think universally, when you say veteran, everyone assumes the man, and it's not always, and it tends to be the older man is always the veteran, because they associate it with, I suppose, war, so they always associate veteran and war and things like that, but it's not. And I suppose this is why I agreed to do the video, in the sense of I want people to realise that there are female veterans out there, and there's young female veterans out there. Yes, I am something, but you know, I'm a young veteran, and there's lots of young female veterans, young veterans out there that are doing what I did and being like, well, no, you need to pull yourself together, you need to get a grip, you need to get on with life. And women, not to be sexist, but we are absolutely rubbish at looking after our own mental health, because we've had it programmed since we were young girls that, you know, we have to keep it together for the family, we have to keep it together we can't be shown weakness, we can't be shown that, you know, we can't keep going. And the more women want to work in high powered and influential jobs, the more they have this almost program with like, no, because if I fall apart, the men are going to think I'm weak. And it's like, it's almost done like a 360 in that respect, in the sense that men used to be portrayed as weak if they showed that they were upset or hurting, and it's almost like it's turning now where women are portrayed as weak if they show they're upset and they're hurting. So it's like saying to the women, you don't have to be mum, you don't have to be the soldier, you don't have to be just one thing. If you're broken or you're breaking or you're upset or anything like that, just reach out. It's okay, because you know, my mum was an absolute nightmare for it, because she was, you know, the wife of first, and then she was the mother, and then she was a veteran's wife, and then all of a sudden it's like she sat there and was like, well, what do I do now? I've spent 6 years of being this one image, and now suddenly I have to rebuild myself. And there's so many other female veterans out there, because they've joined the army too, but yet they're the ones putting their husbands back together because they've got PTSD. So their PTSD has to put a back burner, and then they may have young children, so then their mum with PTSD. So again, they can't have PTSD and be a mum. And it's almost like they probably beat themselves up more then. And then it's like, no, I'll push it to the back of my head because my needs don't come first, you know, and they do, they really do. So female veterans need to step forward and say, no, actually, I need help. I need me time. I need to be able to put me back together. I need the tools to realise who I am, because I've completely lost myself in what I've painted a picture of myself. And this is, I suppose, the video I'm hoping that more women will see, well, actually, yeah, she went forward and realised that she needed help, so I can do the same. So, which would be quite nice.
Well, if you imagine that there's a veteran who's watching your video and is, you know, kind of trying to work out whether or not they want to access Veterans NHS Wales, do you have a little message for them?
Reach out. You know, at the end of the day, what's the worst that can happen? You know, you may go to a couple of sessions and think it's not for them, you know, but you've tried. And just by reaching out, you're reaching out to so many other resources as well. It's not just a, right, you've reached out, we can't help you. It's a reach out, and actually, we may not be able to do it, but this can help, this can do this. And it's opening the branch up, you know. So, and you kind of, when you first initially reach out, you're reaching at the foot of this massive tree, so to speak, and then you kind of look up and go, oh, look at that. And that's the whole purpose of it. So it's definitely worth reaching out just to see which direction then it takes you, and it opens up a line of sort of paths. What's it? I can see clearly now the rain is gone.
I love that too.
Yes, it's kind of the perfect metaphor.
Well, when you think about your journey, if we can call it that, Donna, when you think about that, is there anything else you want to tell us about your experiences?
Not really. It's going in with an open mind, and it's going there with your eyes open, and not having any expectations at all. And that's the best way I can say is the only way you're going to go forward properly is just go in there with, you know, full vision, going, right, there's something at the end. I don't know what it is, but there's something, and I want it. And that's the best thing that I can say, because that's how I kind of ended up going further and further. And I don't know where I'm going from here, to be honest. It's, you know, and it's scary, it's exciting, it's all new for me, and it's finding out who I am again and actually appreciating who I am. And that's the big thing, because nobody appreciates who they are. No one appreciates the journey they've been on. And do you know what I mean? I'm kind of a nice person, yeah. As daft as I can be sometimes, and where the dizziness in me comes from, it's, you know, and it's being kind to yourself. No matter what you've done in the past, no matter what you did yesterday, it's still being kind to yourself. And that's like, I know it's thrown around a lot, but it's genuine, it's real, you know. Be nice to you, stop bullying yourself.
So I just wanted to take time to thank Donna for sharing her story with us. If you have watched Donna's story and you think that you might benefit from the services offered by Veterans NHS Wales, please don't hesitate to get in touch with us. We are here to help you. Thank you.